Tamara always said, once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
Giants fans, welcome back to another episode of Only a Giant, a podcast dedicated to the great Elijah Manning, whatever you want to call him, and obviously the state of the current New York Giants. Today we have a preview pod of the New York Giants against the Washington Commanders that takes place on Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern on Fox, just so you know where you can find it. And let's face it, guys, this is kind of a tricky game this week. Obviously, last week against the Minnesota Vikings, we did not look good. Things did not go our way. Daniel Jones looked horrible. Offensive line looked average. Defense looked subpar, I would say, but that's also tough to do when the offense is so poor. I mean, you score minimal points. What are you going to do? You can't win game scoring 3 or 6 points. That just isn't how the NFL works. You need to score points. That's important in this league. So like I mentioned, kind of a weird game against the Commanders. Obviously, that's a team that generally we beat. I think we're 5-1-1 in the last 7 matchups against the Commanders. So generally, you feel pretty confident about any matchup against them. But Daniel Jones looks so bad on Sunday. Really kind of makes you question just about everything you know about football with how bad he looked on Sunday. So it kind of shakes you a little bit, I think, in that sense. But ultimately, I do think this is still a game that the Giants can potentially win. We'll see what happens. Obviously, the part that makes this tricky for me, I think, and probably a lot of fans is you want the Giants to win. That's an obvious. You don't want the Giants to lose. Some people may argue different, I guess, even maybe this early, but it's kind of weird. Like if we win and Daniel Jones looks okay, but we, squeak a win out, does that mean that Daniel Jones is playing better or just average? Last week he was nowhere even near close to average. He was horrible downright. Couldn't hit any throws with any type of accuracy. It was just a weird game. And that's the thing. Was that a one-time thing? Was that shaking rust? Was that a little bit of nerves? What was it? Was it something to do with the neck injury or coming back from the ACL? And I don't really buy into the rust side of things that much, but the neck injury, is there something wrong with his throwing motion right now that can't be corrected? Like what led to that? What caused him not to make throws to open receivers just over and over again, even when it was checkdowns? What was going on there? So if we win, what's the result? How did the win happen? Was it a Daniel Jones good game? Was it a game where we just squeaked by and some other players made plays for him, or the defense won the game? If we lose, is the whole staff in danger of losing their jobs? Their seats getting hotter. I do want Dable to stay here to be, the coach moving forward. I do want him to get his quarterback. I think at this point it's inevitable. I don't really foresee much happening this year at this point that can maybe change my mind on Daniel Jones as far as being a long-term quarterback option with the Giants. I think you went into the year saying, make or break for Daniel Jones. And man, it's so hard not to come out of that one game. And yes, it was only one game, and not saying it's already broken. To me, this game probably should go either one of two ways. Either by halftime, we're up 21-7, and Daniel Jones looks pretty good. We're hitting some receivers. He looks a little bit more accurate. He maybe has a little bit more confidence. Or we're down 3-20 at half, and DJ looks horrible. Still can't hit any receiver with any type of anticipation or any type of accuracy, and we're benching him. That's kind of the two options I think might be the most realistic. I really kind of don't want that middle of the road, like, he was all right. He did just enough. He didn't look great. Because I think that's going to keep us in that kind of like quarterback purgatory. I want to know. What do we have? I'm sick and tired of waiting. Don't mind me, guys. Need a little coffee here. Shout out to the Syracuse Blackhawks. They start Sunday in Playmaker football. It's a good time. So, a little side note there. Some people may get it, some people may not. But let's get back to the game, guys. And I guess we'll start with the New York Giants offense and what's important in that. I think obviously you look at the Commanders and you look at what their strength is. And their strength is the middle of their defense. Daron Payne, Jonathan Allen, and maybe that's it. Frankie Louvu obviously is a good player. Bobby Wagner is a great player, but he looked horrible last week. Just seemed to be out of position all the time. Do they straighten some of that stuff out? But you really got to make sure that Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen do not wreck this game, because that can happen. They're good. They're that good. Obviously, I do still think you put Dexter Lawrence above them, but I do think they're like a tier below, and they're good players. Back when they had all their other edge rushers and stuff, as well, I think that was a very dominant unit for the front of the defense. But at this point, they don't have the guys they had. So it's really going to be about Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. And what do we do to limit them? Can we maintain the middle of the offensive line? Do we run away from them? Do we kind of have some designed rollouts to try to get out of the pocket a little bit? I think that is stuff that could happen. We might also try to run at the tackles and kind of try to seal the edges. And probably the other part of this will be let the pass game try to set up the run. We'll know right away, if that's going to happen or not. But I do think probably that should be where we try to go. Let Daniel Jones get in the groove. Well, I'll get into that a little bit more later. But in general, try to make sure that we're controlling Daron Payne and Jonathan Allen. I think the offensive line last year did pretty good against the Commanders. Can we do it again? And I think that will be very important in this game. Last week, the Commanders' defense, according to Bobby Skinner, Baker Mayfield was 8 of 9 for 106 yards against the Commanders on screenplays. So I think that could be a very important role in this offense this week, where, yeah, we can't have a repeat of what happened last week, but there were also some okay screens. We had a screen to Devin Singletary that he took for a 15-yard gain and almost broke it for more. We do have some players that are very capable of running a good screen, of getting some yards after catch, with Malik Neighbors, with Wandell, with Devin Singletary, maybe with Hyatt. Give him a chance. I think that's something that you need to see this week to kind of minimize risk, I guess, if you will, and maximize yards after catch with our receivers. So I think that's something that's very important. Running those screens and getting our players into space with some open lanes to run the ball. Obviously, the Commanders' secondary is quite weak and thin. Emmanuel Forbes is not there anymore. They put him at IR, kind of a player I was hoping to see, but at this point, he's not going to be there. So really kind of a secondary that's perfect for like a rebound for Daniel Jones, to show that he can still be a functional quarterback in this league. And I think we'll see it right away. I think they'll try to get the ball out of his hand quick and hopefully hit some reads. And if he can't against this Commanders defense, that tells you all you need to know, guys. He's not the quarterback that we need if he cannot succeed against this offense. Now, this is a little bit tricky, and maybe you'll hear me kind of reiterate this a couple times. This is a brand new offense for the Commanders with Cliff Kingsbury, but he seems to kind of be the coach that we've always remembered him being with the Arizona Cardinals. So I feel like there's not a lot of surprises that'll come out of this game, but we'll kind of get into that a little bit more later. I do think that we do still need to make sure we're taking some deep shots. I think they were in the playbook last week. I think the plays were called. Daniel Jones just did not pull the trigger, and that could have been a factor of a couple things where I think the Vikings defense did do a great job of not letting themselves get beat over the top, making Daniel Jones take the short stuff, the quick reads, or try to, or not try to, I guess. But they really made it so that the deep throws weren't there. And I almost wonder if that was part of it. Like, he has had such an emphasis this preseason, this training camp, of downfield throws. So I almost wonder if he was coming out thinking, I need to make these throws down the field. And he looks, that first read isn't there. The defense adjusted, and then he's like, oh, crap. And he struggled finding his second and third reads. Now, I don't know if that's really the case, but we need to make sure that we're taking some shots downfield, even if it looks covered. Give Malik Neighbors a chance to win a one-on-one rep. Give Jalin Hyatt a chance to beat his guy off the line and beat him down the field. He's faster than a lot of people in the NFL. Let him show that. I think that he will certainly get some more snaps this week, Jalin Hyatt. It just needs to happen. We really just need to make those plays a reality, those deep shots, and make the teams that we play, specifically this week, the Washington Commanders, respect the fact that there could be a deep ball in there. I obviously would like to see a little bit more out of the run game this week, and I think that will partially fall on the offensive line, obviously, to perform a little bit better. But we'll see what happens. I think I would try to probably run off tackle a little bit more and try to seal the inside here to not let Daron Payne or Jonathan Allen beat us too much. But we'll kind of see what happens there. Obviously, we'll just have to kind of play that by ear. So that's kind of what I'm thinking offensively. We'll get into more of what I kind of want to see at the end here when I go over the key to this game. But let's jump over to the defense. Kayvon Thibodeaux, Brian Burns, we need you guys this week. We need you guys to ball out. You laid a stinker last week, specifically Kayvon. That's okay. Those things are going to happen. Nobody has a perfect game. I'm not here to beat up on Kayvon Thibodeaux. He's a great player. He's proven over and over again that he can be a good player in this league. He had a game that didn't go well, and maybe part of that was something to do with play calling on the defensive side. Maybe they had him doing some other things. It didn't look like they rushed the passer a lot. I don't know. I'm not an expert in that type of stuff. I'm not here to break down specific plays as to what this player was doing here, what that player was doing here. I'm like layman's terms, but it didn't look good. This week, you have two young tackles that you're going to be going against. Win those reps, get some pressure on Jayden Daniels. But the other side of that, guys, is dominate these young tackles, but you also need to be sound in your assignments. If you're protecting the edge, you need to make sure you're doing that. If you're supposed to be in this lane, make sure you're doing that, because Jayden Daniels will run the ball. He has legs. He has skill. He's a great runner, and that's something that could certainly beat the Giants this week if we let him get too run happy and we're not playing sound football. So defensively, get some pressure on the edges. Dexter Lawrence, pressure up the middle. If he's going to scramble, I think this may fall on people like Isaiah Simmons, who I think will see a bigger role this week, and Drew Phillips. I think both of those guys will see more of a role this week. I don't think we're going to see as much Cordell Flott this week. So it could fall on people like Drew Phillips in the slot and Isaiah Simmons, maybe on the other side, to maybe not specifically be a spy on the quarterback, but someone who will maybe hold down the flats and then be ready, watching for anything to do with Jayden Daniels trying to run. Now, I think Jayden Daniels last week, a lot of times he kind of took the snap, went to his first read barely, and was ready to run. So what that tells me is maybe they can delay for a second in getting out into any type of flats or any type of zone coverage. Watch Jayden Daniels for a second, see what he's going to do, and then if he looks like he's actually going to pass, drop into your assignments. Maybe that's not sound football. Maybe that's not the way to do it. But you need to make sure that he's not running Ranchok all over this team. Now, the coaching staff for the Commanders did come out and say that they want to focus a little bit more on the passing game with him and not being so quick to run. So I think that may be something that we see. It's a second start in the NFL. I think it's something where you need to see what he can do. If he's gonna start being able to throw the ball and be accurate with those throws, then so be it. And we need to maybe adjust. But I think if we get some pressure on him, he's gonna fall into what he is comfortable doing. He's gonna revert back to running. And then I think we need to, if he is running, we need to hit him. We need to try to draw the ball out loose. He isn't always going to slide. He's a risk taker. And I think we have to be ready for that. That's where it's like maybe you run a little bit of quarterback spy, but also at the same time, I think you need to be ready in case they do try to actually throw the ball. like I said, so he does have the ability to run. I do think he could be a player that's as good as Lamar Jackson at running. I think he has the potential of being a better passer than Lamar Jackson. I think that's still an issue with Lamar Jackson. Different story for a different day. But I think it's something that we just have to be ready for. Like I mentioned, as far as Jayden Daniels passing, guys, we'll see what happens there. We didn't see a lot of passing in the first game. And to kind of prove that point, he was 12 for 19 with 119 yards prior to the last drive of the game, where he went 5 for 5 with 65 yards in prevent defense with the Bucs running prevent defense. So 12 for 19 as far as passing was concerned. He had 18 rushes. That can't happen. That can't be a sustainable game plan for Jayden Daniels. He needs to be able to throw the ball, and a lot of that stuff didn't really look like it was designed runs either. A lot of it really did look like it was like one read barely and then taken off. So now you got to throw a couple of little things out there as well. He did miss Terry McLaurin on a deep ball, and he like just missed him. So that's something that you got to kind of keep in mind, that he does have the ability to go deep and throw a good ball, but we haven't really seen it yet. But part of this defense, I think Deonte Banks is going to be very important to shut down Terry McLaurin. One of the weird things last week was Terry McLaurin didn't have his first catch until I think it was 3 minutes and 34 seconds in the third quarter. They tried getting him the ball a couple times, but he's kind of got to be a focal point of this offense. It can't keep being a check down here, a check down there when they do throw the ball. You got to get Terry McLaurin involved. So I think Deonte Banks is really going to have a big role in this game as far as shutting down Terry McLaurin. I think he'll see him most of the time. I do think Adoree Jackson's probably going to start this week as well. The limited action that he had, I thought he looked pretty good. He looked better than probably I thought. Obviously, he had that one big pass interference play, but it was a pass interference, guys. And I don't think anyone questions that. It was a horrible call. So it is what it is on that. Terry did mainly line up on the left side, and I think that's mainly where Banks will play. So I imagine there'll be a lot of Banks coverage. I do think Banks held up week one okay against Justin Jefferson. You're not going to judge too much off of that matchup specifically, but he did get beat on one long ball, and then he got beat on the touchdown, obviously, as well. But the touchdown, I still maintain he had pretty good coverage. He was right there, maybe just a hair too late. He did get his arm in. Justin Jefferson is just Justin Jefferson. So Banks, don't hold up, actually. I'm sorry. Dominate this matchup. You're a second-year player. I thought you did pretty well in the first year. Show that you can be a true shutdown corner. You are pretty good in man. I think you're better than people think in zone. Make a play on a ball. Get a pick in this game. I think that's what I want to see out of him this game. Get a pick, a couple of pass breakups, and let's see what happens. Whew. So that's the offense. That's the defense, guys. I'm not really going to worry about special teams too much. Obviously, we have a new punt returner. Not really concerned about that. I was happy to see last week that our kicker looked pretty good. Definitely something that I was hoping to see there. And I guess we'll jump right into the key of the game for me. I guess we'll maybe rehash last week's key to the game. And my key to the game last week was the front seven. I think the front seven didn't play to their potential. They didn't play great, but ultimately, you can't win when you don't score points. It's just not going to happen, guys. I think we scored 6 points, and that is just not sustainable in the NFL to score 6 points and win a game. So it's kind of like an incomplete, but obviously we'll still say it's a failed assignment for the front seven to be the key members of this win. So we'll jump into this week's key to the game, and I'm going a little bit different on this key to the game. This week's key to the game to me is Daniel Jones and Brian Daboll and the very first drive of the game. And it's specific to that. So the key to me, Daniel Jones, Brian Daboll, and the very first drive for the New York Giants in this game. This could determine everything that happens in this game. So Daboll, this is my plea to you. Please get Daniel Jones' confidence up early. Give him some easy completions. If he can if he can be accurate, of course, that's obviously the key to this, and make the right reads. But give him some easy reads. Give him a few rollouts if you need to, where he can hit something in the flat easy. Let him get 2 or 3 completions and establish a drive. Get a few first downs. If we can get that few first downs, take a shot down the field. Get comfortable in this game. Establish a drive. Get a couple first downs. And if you can get those few first downs and you start getting Daniel Jones comfortable and feeling like maybe he can play quarterback in this league, let him take a shot downfield. Maybe after that second first down, take a shot. Take a shot to Malik. Give Jalen Hyatt a chance. I'm assuming Darius Slayton's going to play in this game, even though he's in concussion protocol. All signs point to him being able to play. But get the ball downfield. Get the ball out of Daniel Jones' hands quick. Get him confident in this game. That is the key to this game, I think, with the offense. We need to be able to score points. I wanted to go Deonte Banks is the key to this game, but nothing matters what Deonte Banks does if the offense can't score points. So Dable, Daniel Jones, in that first drive specifically, let's get this going in that first drive. Let's score a freaking opening week touchdown. Is that too complicated to ask? Christ, man, it shouldn't be, but it is. It's crazy. First quarter touchdowns, let alone, are something that the Giants can't do. Now, the other reason I think this opening drive is very important, because if you see right away that Daniel Jones is missing the mark, clearly inaccurate, clearly not getting through any progressions that may be on that, or he's not pulling the trigger, then guys, I expect to change. I expect to change quick I'd like to say in the second quarter, but maybe give him the full quarter. But if the second quarter and it's not clicking still, and we're not getting any points on the board, we're not scoring any touchdowns. Now, granted, if there's fluke things that happen, a pass gets tipped up and intercepted, but Daniel Jones looked pretty good, or a fumble from somebody else or something like that, that's obviously not going to be the case. Then they're not going to replace Daniel Jones. But if it's going bad, guys, it's getting frustrating, and you can see that there's just a lack of confidence, and Dable's kind of giving you that shaking head where it's just like, what are you going to do? They're making a change. And maybe that's not fair. You look back at last year with Daniel Jones in that game too. The first half, they were down like 21-0, I think, or maybe even 28-0. I don't remember. I think it might have actually been 28-0, because we came back and tied it at 28-28 and then kicked the field goal to win. So maybe it was 28-0 or something along those lines. Kind of crazy. But Daniel Jones played really well in the second half, but I don't think Daniel Jones necessarily looked horrible in the first half of that game. I just think everything was going wrong that could have went wrong in that game to start. So I think it's very different. If it looks horrible, guys, it's kind of like a best case scenario. Either it goes great in the first half, or it's horrible. And I think if at that point you know what's going to happen, you can move on from Daniel Jones, put him down as a third quarterback, let Drew Lock take over if it's bad. And if it's good, maybe we have something to build on, with the rest of the year. Now, I'm not saying that if Daniel Jones plays well, then we have our future quarterback. I'm not saying that. I think we might be past that at this point. But you at least have something to build on. You at least maybe can win some games this year and be competitive. We'll see. My prediction for this game, I still think the Giants win this game, 21-12. I'd like to see a little bit more offense, but I do think the defense can play a pretty good game here. Maybe the Commanders get a touchdown off of Jaden Daniels' scramble. It's going to happen a lot. But I think the defense can play a pretty good game here, and I think the offense will get going and score a few touchdowns. And Daniel Jones will look okay. I'd like to see better than okay, but we'll take what we can get if we can get a W here and get a win. Giants fans, any fans that are watching, if you could, please like and subscribe if you're still here with me. I really appreciate it. Please enjoy the game as well. Obviously, like I talked about last week, this is game 2 out of 17. The season goes by so quick. Love you all. Peace out. Let's go Big Blue. I'll see you next week for a review podcast, and hopefully we're reviewing a win. Let's go Big Blue.